and I needed it. And so it was welcome. At the same time, I felt like I needed to be a voice to keep people
Right.
sane and keep myself sane. And I did a lot of walking with the dogs, avoiding people on the street. It turned into a video game. Across the street when you see somebody, and stay as far away from people as possible. But I did a lot of walking early on, and
Right.
thank goodness, we got a few government checks, and I had the online classes going to sustain me. But I had my meditation, and I had my music, and I didn't have to worry about being anywhere at a certain time. And so it was as much as difficult as it was a welcome detox for me and a reboot.
Great.
It's actually been worse now that things are getting back to normal. So, but yeah, during the beginning of the thing, it was, I was okay. I had nothing to complain about. I have nothing to complain about. I know that there
Right.
were a lot more people going through a lot more serious stuff than whatever inconveniences I was dealing with. So
Right.
yeah, I have no complaints.
For those of you guys who just came on, I just have to tell Frankie for the first 3 minutes, I've been so nervous and my computer's been acting up. We were not even live, Frankie. But anyway, for those Leah texted me and said, Earl, fool, y'all ain't live. So I
I
we
love it. I
started
love
off we started off the interview saying that we normally go in chronological order, but I'm all over the place as you can see. I'm just going to go in a different time. I'll ask Frankie maybe about his past at some time. But we're basically going to focus on what he was doing during the COVID and how he was dealing with it. That's what he was explaining the last 3 minutes because we have been on for at least 3 minutes, Frankie. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you,
That was
Leah. Leah wrote and said we're on. Okay.
yeah.
All righty. Now let me ask you this, Frankie.
Yeah.
Did you guys, because I can't remember, did you have online classes before the COVID?
No, and to tell you the truth, we've been trying to do online classes since 2004.
Uh-huh.
Um, and we actually had a platform going called the Rhythm Lounge for a
Okay.
little bit that we were testing it. But that was, I mean, like then all of a sudden everybody, was in everybody's consciousness. But yeah, we were trying that for a long time, and there were always little things that were getting in the way of like fully embracing it and making it like a business move. But
Right.
I had a worldwide following, and I kept thinking, I'm spending this time in front of 15 people, 4 or 5 times a week. I could be teaching the whole, everybody at the same time, and so that it had always been an idea, and COVID just kind of like, all excuses gone, like got to figure it out and get it going.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I never really got into it because, like you said, the market is flooded. But then
Yes.
again, I'm not nowhere near your caliber. But if I was your caliber of dancer, of course I'd have you can't
Yeah.
beat that online deal.
Right. And the
You
thing
make
is this, what I figured out pretty quick is that it requires a little bit of discipline on the part of the participants. And
yes.
people don't have discipline that way. like
Really.
they were doing it for a second because it was a novelty and everybody was at home, and every teacher on the planet had to do it right at the same time. So you had the whole community was split all over the place. But
Yeah.
after a while, what you start realizing is that you're asking people, especially with the way I was doing things, because I was doing pre-recorded classes. I wasn't doing because I felt that number one, the damn Zoom thing, I don't trust it, and the time delays and the music being out of sync with your movements and all that stuff and glitches. And so we would do pre-recorded, and we still do pre-recorded um, classes. And then people can purchase them, and they have them, and they can reference them for as long as they want.
Right.
Um, but what happened is they would purchase them, and then I would release something new, and they still hadn't done the class. They hadn't dealt with it, and so you start to realize that people have to all the little perks that bring people to classes. All those things are missing. All the the social things and all the meeting up with your friends and getting to meet, you know, opposite sex and all that stuff is non-existent all of a sudden, and you're just talking about pure discipline and pure work on yourself and your dance, and that's not as sexy to people as you know, one might think
Right.
initially, you know.
Hmm. You know what? Again, Frankie, I apologize for these technical difficulties. I got three people telling me take this StreamYard thing on. Well, for you guys who want to know, I'm usually working on my computer. I've never done this on my phone. I don't know how to remove the StreamYard thing, so deal with it. Anyway.
If somebody knows, let us know. And
yeah, you know,
too, you know?
take it off, tell me. Because you can't even see my name on there. You don't even know who I am. You know who Frankie is, but you're probably looking at who's that old man on the left hand side. Yeah, you know. So anyway, I had met Mr. Martinez. Not met. Well, I first saw him at one of the first Puerto Rico salsa congresses when he was down there with his group. And at that time, I was like one of the first congresses I've gone to. I don't think it was the first one. It may have been the second one. I'm not quite sure.
Right.
And well, it was one of my first congresses that I had attended. You know, so I'm excited. You know, because I'm into the dance. I want to take the classes and stuff. So when I saw Mr. Martinez, it was a huge circle around him with cameras, everybody videotaping, and I looked and I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? Why are all these people watching these guys? But there were circles all over the place, you know. They would circle around the great dancers, and I just thought that this was like, what is going on? Because we didn't do that in the R&B club or the house club.
Right.
So, you know,
right.
somebody would be like, get that camera off me or whatever.
Right.
So, Kelvin Harris and Rick and I, we saw you down there. And we was like, wow, this dude is great. And then we came back up to DC, and a couple of years later, Eileen Torres, my partner on the show, had brought you and Abakuá down to Zanzibar. Okay?
Right.
I'm like, wow. And I was just fascinated by you, okay? So eventually I ventured up to come take some classes with you. But it was just amazing. I think that you're amazing, and I have to be careful not to be fawning all over you during the interview or sucking up to you because you know you're like one of my dance heroes.
No, that's I need some of that, bro. It's the time in our lives where we need some sucking up to. You know what I mean? Everybody does at this point. You know, it's like just remind me that I'm worth something. You know.
Right? So I would imagine, Frankie, when you is this still the most requested routine that you do when you go everywhere? If everybody wants you to do welcome to the party, nothing else, they just want to see you welcome wherever you go.
Yeah, for sure. Welcome to the party. Every once in a blue moon, La Palomilla. But yeah, I mean, it was. I hated it at the first because I would choreograph new stuff and I had new stuff to show, and everybody's asking for this, and I'm like, man, I just did a Star Wars here where I put myself in I got typecast all of a sudden, and that's what everybody wants to see. So I felt like, Tony Basil, the woman that sings, "Oh, Mickey, you're so fine, you're so fine." That's the only song she ever did. Like that's the only thing. I know her because she's a dancer. I used to give her a private. But she does rocking and stuff like that. But that's the only song she had, and I started thinking, man, nobody wants to see anything else. But yeah, I actually just did it. I was requested to do it in Barcelona in Spain, in December, and it was like, please do welcome to the party. We would love to see you. And I was like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I would imagine they always do it. I'd like to see you do it when I see you, but I can understand. I'm like, wow. He got to be not. He has to be wary of doing it all the time, you know.
Yeah,
but
it's funny because it's the least. I always tell people it's the least artistic. It's one of the least artistic numbers I've ever choreographed. In terms of like really. But that's just something about that track, and it's very straightforward in terms of how I composed it, and You know, I composed that on a car ride from Toronto. I was visiting this girl that I was seeing at the time,
Uh-huh.
and on the way home, I was listening to the song over and over again, and I pretty much laid down the whole thing, you know. But it's funny how you put all this effort into stuff.
Girl, it's private. Only his friends can see it.
Oh, it's Leah says it's private now. Only your friends can see it. It's not public, according to Leah.
And people in the chat. Check the chat.
Check the chat. People are saying it in the chat, she said.
I'm looking at the chat. I don't see nothing. I see nothing
No?
in the chat.
Maybe that's because of...
Horrible. Only Frank can see it. Well, that means two people. Oh, okay. All right, let me see. It's not showing up. I can't. You know what? I really wish that they could be in, but I don't want to mess anything up and cut you off.
Yeah. No, I mean...
They might have to just hit it on the replay. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to help them for the chat, but I'm so embarrassed. Let's move on. Let's move on with it, and I'll figure something out as we go. But I don't want to hold up people who are listening.
Yeah, no problem.
And I don't want to hold you up as well. I'm sure you're a very busy young man. Okay. All right. I'll figure something. Oh gosh. Okay. Thank you. My man's calling me, so we're doing right. We'll move on. Everybody's not gonna watch this whole interview right now anyway. They're gonna watch it when they have convenience, right? Okay, Frank.
Yeah.
So during COVID, you started the online thing. Did you? So I guess you met a lot of people online, huh?
Yeah, I mean, people were coming out of the woodwork to buy classes from all different countries. It was beautiful. I mean, everybody was in a mode of supporting each other, and so yeah, it was heartwarming that I had a moment where I could rely on that to keep things going, you know. But yeah, like I said, everybody was doing it at the same time. So you were really fighting, as you are now, or any time on social media, you're fighting for people's attention, you know. And it's tough. It's tough because I'm new to the whole social media thing. Like not new, but I haven't been on this stuff for somebody else. I was telling people not to support me until recently. Yeah, because I believe in mystique. You know what I mean? I believe in, Prince had some mystique. There were places in New York that he would show up, and you just had to hear through the grapevine he was just going to show up and jam there, and he would do his concerts once in a while, but it was in order to catch. I dig that. It creates an allure and a mythology, and it's you don't give people a chance to get sick of you, which is one of the things that I could foresee and still foresee, and I'm constantly trying to manage. I'm trying to manage people getting sick of you, and social media is like I don't think anybody's thinking about what that's going to do. I get sick of these people that I'm, that follow me. I follow them back, and I get sick of the stuff that, it's like, I've never lived like that, Yeah. So I enjoy, I haven't seen you in a while, and, what are you up to? And now, there's no questions to ask anybody because everybody already knows what you've been up to because you've been posting, your whole life. So it's cute. It has its things, but I feel like the beauty of mystique and the beauty of oh man, this person, I haven't seen this person in a while, and here they are, or here they're going to be, and I want to buy a ticket to go and see them. That was part of how I managed my exposure,
right, yeah.
Back in the day. And now that's not really a luxury as people can afford. You have to kind of be, if you're not on people's minds constantly, somebody else will be, and they forget about you quick. So yeah, I don't know what that's going to mean for the future. Like for, you know, that all that mystique goes away, and people don't realize, they think they're in love with you right now. But, and I told a lot of people, I'm, because I was doing the Congress circuit for a good 5 years before I decided to really get into doing the dance theater side of things, you know, with the company. And when I was telling people that I'm going to take a break from this and I have some endeavors that I really want to get into, you know, people were like, "Oh, you can't leave. We love you." And I would have these long conversations with people about the fact that you love me now. You know, I know you think you love me now,
Right.
but I can't rely on the fact that you think you're going to love me forever, because I know better than that. You know, like I started seeing the same people over and over again from one weekend to another in different countries. And not just the artists, I'm talking about the people that were going to these things. They were hopping from country. And not only that, but then you started getting this thing in 2004, 2005, where multiple events in the same city on the same weekend, right? And it's like, it was, you know, looking at it and trying to be objective about it and trying to be forward thinking about it, I started to feel like this was going to burn itself out. And at the very least, because there was a moment where if you didn't have me on the bill, you really didn't have a legitimate event. Like people had this thing that they had to get me on the bill in order for people to think this is an event that we would want to go to. And they used to announce me as the most solicited dancer in the world. Like that was one of the things that we, you know, was constantly the most solicited dancer in the world. And Henry, who was managing me at the time, Henry Knowles, the famous, world famous DJ, who was also managing Eddie Torres before, when I was dancing with Eddie Torres, the Eddie Torres dancers, and he road managed Mark Anthony back in the day. You know, he's produced New Swing Sextet, and he was inundated with phone calls. I mean, people would put me on their flyer and then ask me if I would go. After I had a guy in Germany do that. He showed me the flyer. "Look, I want you to come to my event." And I said, "It looks like I'm already going to." He's showing me the flyer. I said, "Did we talk to this guy?" Because you know, he's like, "No, you have to come. You have to come." And I'm like, "I guess I do," you know. But he did that. And I told him, you know, the third time, I said, "You know what? I'm not going this time." You know, like he would just stick me on because he knew he needed to stick me on for people to go.
Right.
But you know, and just like I had foreseen, people, you know, generations switch over quickly, especially now, and people get tired of things, and they look for new things to get hooked onto, and they don't care whether you're doing okay or not doing okay. They are just interested in what they're interested in. And so, you know, you have to kind of take care of yourself, and you have to make sure you're going to be okay regardless of what is happening at the moment. And I find it's something important for dancers and people that are in dance. I look at people like Eddie Torres, who've been doing this for so long, and I worried about him at different stages in my road, wondering if he was going to graduate somewhere where he would be okay not hoofing it himself, you know what I mean? Not having to get on stage himself. And, you know, I worried about that. And I worried about ending up there myself, you know, as I got older, where you know, my body's only going to stay with me so long.
Right.
And I'm only going to be what people are looking for so long. Am I going to be able to parlay my experiences and my achievements into something that will allow me to keep doing this as I get older, you know? And again, the public is with you when they're with you, and they think they'll be with you when they're not with you. And then, you know, you start having a hard time saying hello to people. All of a sudden they don't know you, you know, it's like, but yeah, it's cool because, you know, I've been doing this professionally as a profession for 20 years. And then the 5 years or so before that, where I was dancing with Eddie and getting my, you know, paying my dues and figuring it all out at the beginning. But I've seen so many things, and you know, as a martial artist and somebody who trained martial arts for 20 some odd years, and looking at how people develop in that as well, you know, just as far as their personal development, you know, there's a lot of observations that I've been able to make over long periods of time about how things pan out, and the you know, the things that are really important to focus on, the things that really are of value. And one of those things is making sure you don't get stuck in the fever of the moment and start making all your decisions about the moment and not working on setting yourself up for later down the road, you know?
Yeah. That makes sense. You know, you know, I told you I'm a big fan of yours, and I'm a real sensitive kind of guy, but when I'm into something, I'm into something, you know?
Right.
So I'll tell you this, I had you for a class, for the class down in DC.
Right.
And you know, everyone knows, anyone who's ever taken a class with you, of course they know that you're loquacious, you talk a lot, you talk a lot in your classes, you know?
Right.
So at the time, I was saying, you know what? I said to myself, Frankie's been talking about for about a half an hour. He hasn't shown me anything, but I've learned about 8 things
Yeah.
in half an hour
Yeah.
just by listening to him.
Yeah.
So I'm also real petty.
Yes.
I'm working on that. I'm working on that side of me.
Yeah.
So this guy was running around in the workshop telling people, well, I paid all my money to see this guy, and all he's doing is talking. You know, going around bad mouthing. So, you know, I had a word with him. We actually don't even speak anymore.
Oh.
I had a word with him. I said, because I'm petty. You know, first of all, don't be bad mouthing anybody that's coming to my event. One, don't be
Right.
bad mouthing Frankie Martinez. That's one of my dance heroes. What's wrong with you? What are you doing? You know, 'cause that's the petty side of me that came out. I said, look, excuse my language. I don't like to curse on these shows. But all you have to do is screw in, listen, and you would have learned stuff. The time
Yeah.
you spent running around doing the workshop talking about him talking too much, you didn't have a chance to learn anything, fool. I still don't deal with that guy.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
point being, you helped me realize sometimes you just gotta listen.
Yeah.
People
And it's
don't read.
for us to
People don't
do.
read and they don't listen.
Right.
They don't read or they don't listen.
Yeah.
You know,
It's the
yeah.
most difficult thing. And if you think about it, nothing we do is possible in the dance if you don't learn how to listen first, right? Because that's really the skill. You know, if you had to kind of condense
Right.
the dance, and it's not even just this dance. It's a lot of art forms. If you condense them down to their most simple concept, that concept is really about sensitivity, about being able to receive and be sensitive to the stimulus that's providing the juice for you to be involved in. And if you can't listen to me for 30 minutes, you're not going to be able to listen to no dense polyrhythmic Afro-Caribbean music in any significant way that's going to allow you access to the things that I've discovered access to, you know? And the other thing is that in order for me to be valuable, in order for me to feel valuable, I can't just, you know, I can't be out there trying to entertain you. There's enough of that, you know, like either you want an education and you want to learn something, or you want to be entertained. And I'm, you know, there's plenty of entertainment out there. You know, there's plenty of people doing the entertaining stuff that everybody, you know, claps and loves. And you want me to give you a workout? I'll work you out. And I'll tell you what, you're not going to be able to handle my workout because I did, you know, we used to make black belts pass out in the dojo that would come to visit us, you know, And we would do it on purpose so that they knew where they were. Like this is how we train here. And they would pass out, and they would wake up on the side, and we would still be training. You know, my teachers would say, if you pass out, you're going to get rolled over to the side until you wake up, because we can't stop training because you don't have yourself together, right? And that's the thing, is that I possibly only have an hour with you, or a few hours over a weekend.
Right.
And how do I facilitate the most impact so that it's worth my time doing and it's worth your time doing, you know? And I can't train you physically in my method, because I need years to do that. If you were under my tutelage for 4 hours, 5 hours a day, I wouldn't say a word. I would just say, shut up, go over there, put your foot here, put that, do it again. That's all I would need to do, because the work would reveal the things you needed to understand. But if I have 3 hours over a weekend to make a point, to make an impact, to broaden your ability to see into the matrix a little bit, I need to plant seeds, you know? And, you know, that was my niche. It was that I was the one that was going to come and point to what the possibilities were. And I was going to show you how ineffective you were at just listening. I would do it on purpose because it was so hard for people to do. You know, it was like the most difficult thing for people to do is to sit still and listen. And it's the most difficult thing to learn. It's the most difficult thing to work on. And it is the most valuable thing you could possibly have. I would see it in the subways. I would bring this up in class all the time. You sit in the subway and you just watch. Nobody can sit still and just be, right? They're on the phone, you know, and I would sit there as still as possible and as relaxed as possible, observing my surroundings. And, you know, I would giggle because that's what I see in classes. Dancers are a energetic folk, right? It's the predisposition that tends to come along with people who choose to go to dance classes. They tend to be higher energy people. And so when they get to dance class, they make you responsible for kind of taking care of that energy expenditure that they need in order to. And at home, there's more of a like, I wear you out a little bit, and then I talk to you, so you're in a state where you can listen, because I realize what I'm dealing with. But at the same time, it's a powerful message to send to people. You know, it's a powerful thing to not just to tell people, but to make them realize through a visceral experience that they're no good at sitting still or standing still and listening. You know, and if you can't do that, forget about it. Forget about communicating with a partner and understanding what's happening from them. Forget about, you know, being sensitive and being open to music and the musical density and variety that exists in this genre, the layers of rhythms and possibilities that exist in the music we dance to. And if you can't tell that a song is just flipped from being an actual salsa to being a Mozambique rhythm, and your ear wasn't tuned in enough to let you know that, you're basically living your life 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and you're missing the whole universe, you know, like so it's important to me not only to preserve the dance and the art form and the culture of it, you know, to let people know that there's more than what they're interested in. There's more to this than pop culture and what may be attractive to you at the moment. And those things are important, you know. But also to show them things in a visceral way, in a way they can experience that they're not good at. And that if they were to work on, they could discern between good teachers and bad teachers, and good dancers and bad dancers, and good music and bad music, which is another thing. You know, it's like everybody's taste is all a mess because they have no concept of what good music is, you know? So yeah, it's like, it's, that became my way to like show you quick without, you know, or with a discourse and verbiage, you know, without having to literally explain it to you. I'm explaining the dance, but your inability to sit there and to be receptive to it shows an inability to be sensitive and receptive to anything in the dance, you know?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, you know, I told him, shut up. You know, shut up. Why don't you just listen? I mean, I
Right.
actually learned a lot of stuff. And
Mhm.
the thing, it's hard for me because I have my attention span is just, like I said, all over the place.
Right.
For me to sit there and listen to you talk, you had to be saying something that was
Right.
good. I wouldn't even have been there listening.
Yeah.
I would went and got a soda or something. I was a promoter. I didn't have to be there.
Right.
I was there because I wanted to learn.
Yeah.
I always want to learn, you know. But
What am
anyway,
I going to do? Right? You know, it's like what everybody tries to do is they try to, you know, they go in, they teach you a workshop and they tell you how they do something. And this is how you got to do it. And then you leave and the next teacher comes in and tells them, this is how you got to do it. And it's completely the opposite of what the first teacher just told you. And now you do 4 or 5 classes in a weekend with different teachers and you're basically just confused, right? You have a bunch of contradicting information that nobody proved to you. It's just that I'm cool and this is how I do it. People dig it. So this is how you should do it. And then another person comes and says, this is how I do it. I'm cool. People dig it. This is how you should do it. But that's not what the other person said. Shut up. Just do what I, you know, this is what I do. And there's no philosophy, you know, cohesive philosophy to any of it. Well, I don't come from this whole like taking classes with multiple teachers. To tell you the truth, I've never taken a workshop in my life. In martial arts, I did, but I was already a black belt when I did so, right?
right.
But you know, in karate, you have a teacher, and that you are with that teacher. Like you surrender your like you have something that I want in life. Like it's not even just about the physicality. You've become an individual that I would like to become something like that. What do I have to do? You know, what hill do I have to, you know, carry a pail up? You know, the old kung fu movies were full of this stuff, you know. But you didn't. I would never think to then go to another dojo and study with and take a class with another teacher, or, you know, that was like all you were doing was confusing yourself and undermining what your teacher was teaching you. So the dance culture of like learn everything you can from as many people as you can. It's nice, but it kind of, you know, in Zen they have a saying where you know, people walk into the garden of a teacher, right? And what you do is you keep walking into the garden of different teachers, but you never go into the house. You know, you just keep going into people's front lawn and you get a taste of that stuff, and none of the truth, none of the important information is on the lawn, right? That's all set up for the things that you're supposed to be understanding later on, but you never get there. And so that whole jack of all trades, like there's a lot of sayings that are bogus and bunk and they sound cute, but when you really pull them apart, it's garbage. But that jack of all trades thing, jack of all trades, master of none, you know, that is how I grew up. You know, you focus. And the funny thing is that when it comes to this dance, the way we see it, the way I see it, it's such a dense field of study, right? If you were to really understand that the word salsa is a big made up kind of marketing term for a whole bunch of stuff underneath, right? And that what we've come to understand as salsa is this singular, silly, you know, dumbed down, watered down idea of what it means. Like I had a woman in Australia ask me to dance bachata. And I said, I don't dance bachata. Why should you expect me to? You know, I'm not asking you to dance tango, right?
Right.
The fact that you're expecting me to dance bachata, it says something about the community. It doesn't say anything about me. That has nothing to do with what I do, right? The fact that right now all those things are jumbled up into one concept is your problem. That has nothing to do with me, right? I refuse to be made responsible for these decisions that these people made about what I'm supposed to be into, because that's what people are into that do salsa right now. So she said, "Oh, you only dance salsa?" And I said, "Only dance salsa." And so I sat there on my phone and I wrote a list of 20 different rhythms and dances that are associated with those rhythms that fall under the term salsa in my mind, right? It was never this singular thing, you know, it was all these things. At the very least, it implied cha-cha-cha, right? At the very least. I always say I want to get a T-shirt that says cha-cha-chero, because nobody has that T-shirt. You know, everybody says mambero, salsero, you know, cenero. You never see cha-cha-chero, right? It should be implied that you cha-cha if you mambo also. Those things are, you can't separate those things. That doesn't make any sense, right? But for everybody else, it's like, oh, cha-cha, I don't do cha-cha. It is cha-cha. Is that what everybody sits down, right? Put a bachata, everybody stands up and dances. It doesn't make any sense. Like there's no correlation. Nobody's playing merengue. I'm waiting for people to start playing merengue. Where's the merengue? I'll dance some merengue for sure. I don't hear that. That's the stuff, you know, that was always being played when I was going out, when I was young and at home and whatnot. But the point is, you know, like, I don't have time for that other stuff. Like, I don't have, there's so much involved in what the thing that attracted me and my choice of endeavor and my choice of study, my choice of expression. And part of the reason why it was so appealing to me was because it was so rich, you know, because it went all the way back to Africa, and there were so many different stops in between, you know, and all that stuff is colorful and varied. And, you know, salsa's not romantic, blah, 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 blah. But bolero's romantic, and cha-cha-cha can be romantic, and son montuno can be romantic, and guajira can be romantic, but nobody knows what I'm talking about when I speak about those things, right? It's the you know, it's the when we were young, we used to go to these little clubs where you could get in where you're 16 years old, and they would play the hip hop, and we would dance to the hip hop stuff, and then they would play the dance hall music, right? And that was when we would all get crazy, right? Because you're 16 years old and you're looking for a girl, and hey, you want to dance? And then you're grinding in the corner, grinding on the girl, boom, turning around, grinding on her, grind, you know? Well, we used to love that, right? Because it was a moment of like sexual release, right? To like social, you know, we had an excuse to get close to girls. And I feel like that is a driving factor in why the sexuality is on 10. And so these dances get a lot of the populace and the other stuff, because we're talking about concepts that are more cultural, more sophisticated in terms of understanding music and having to do some work to understand music and understand that 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 isn't the end all to be all, whether it's all your teacher teaches or not, right? Because that's what happens when I play cha-cha-cha, is people sit down because the teacher didn't bring that up, you know, so they don't know what to do. And I remember the days when you would go to a part and you would dance, and you would just dance, you know, and it didn't matter that you were, you know, on timing or with your, you know, you would groove. And if something's groovy, it's groovy. You can't tell me it's not groovy. You know, we're way beyond that already. Like my you know, the music I've been into, the way that I interpret those things, the way that I've been able to teach it, my musical taste, you know, is varied, and my musical influences are varied. And so you're not telling me that's not groovy. You're telling me that you don't know how to deal with it and that you don't understand it. Eddie used to say that a lot. Eddie used to say, don't tell me you don't like a step. Tell me you don't understand it. It's not about you liking it or not liking it. You probably just don't understand it if you don't like the step, right? And there's a lot of truth to that. You know, it's that we we kind of, you know, there's a difference between education and entertainment. And I think people, a lot of people to a certain degree expect the entertainment side of it, and they expect you to give them a good time as opposed to actually teaching them something. And it's, I feel like it's missing, and it's going to do damage to the art form, both culturally and artistically, because, you know, it's already suffering from a lack of respect by the general population as it is. You know, it's always been kind of maligned. The second you mention salsa, the second you mention Latin dance, it's kind of like, oh, that's not really art. That's, you know, that's the, you know, that stuff, you know? And so I spent a lot of time in the arts community trying to get respect for what the potential of the art form was, you know? And so a lot of our projects centered around that, you know?
So, Frankie, what was the first? I'm trying to figure out. When I saw you, was this the first one, or was this just the second one? What was the first Puerto Rican Congress that you attended and participated in, and which hotel was it?
Which hotel was it? I love that. That's a great question.
I know what you're saying. There he go with those crazy questions again.
No, that's a good question. That's one of those Easter eggs that only a person that's been to the Puerto Rico Salsa Congress understands what is being asked, implied there. So the first time I went, a girl that I was seeing in Eddie's company brought it to my attention that there was this event in Puerto Rico, right? And that she had gone the year before, and it blew her mind. And it was the first year that they had it, which I think was 96, right? And then in 97, we went, or no, it was 97. And then in 98, we went, she brought me and we went as participants, as, you know, as just general public. I didn't take any workshops, nothing. We just went to see these shows and to dance at this party, to hear these bands and to see this, like, you know, people from all over the world, dancers from all over the world. This blew my mind, right? So that was 1997, and it was in the El San Juan Hotel in Isla Verde, right? Before they did the Caribe Hilton and the one next to it. What was the one next to the Caribe Hilton called? It was that little, it looked like a boat. And that's where we used to go, because they didn't want to put us up, and they would stick us in the hotel next door, and then we would have trouble getting into the pool because we didn't have the right. We get to the pool, we're like, man, you're not in this hotel, but yeah, well, we're part of the event. But yeah, it was in the El San Juan. That's where they started it, in Isla Verde. So then in 99, the very next year, Eddie was invited, and then we went and performed. And I was excited he was invited, because I couldn't believe he wasn't even part of this thing, and that they hadn't reached out to him, because it like everybody who was anybody from anywhere was there. And then, so yeah, 99, we performed with a huge crew. There was like 20 dancers. There was break dancers and, you know, disco hustle couple, Kenny and Nelly, that used to work with us sometimes. It was huge. And then in 2000, I ended up going with the company, with my company. I mean, it's funny how quickly things happen, but like the very next year, in 1999, somehow left Eddie, started the company, had some material put together, and went to Puerto Rico on my own, and had a few years of that afterwards.
Yeah.
That probably is the one you might be.
That's the one. That's the one.
Right.
Yeah. It's like I try to explain to dancers who are, you know, young dancers now. I said, if you never went to the Puerto Rican Congress, you just don't even understand. You don't even understand.
And the thing is that it was a novel concept at the time. You know, they were the only ones doing that, right? And Albert Torres, right? But like that concept of a world Latin dance and music conference, like the Bacardi and All Star Entertainment started that, you know,
Right.
And they were the ones, like when the early events started, they would be they would be there under their umbrella, and they would go as consultants, and they would bring artists, international artists, and that me and Aisha were contracted with them for years, and we were the New York representatives that they would then bring to other places. The local promoters were in charge of getting their people together, but
Right.
All Star would bring the international talent. They would consult on how to do things and the bands and stuff. And that's how it started. You know, it was a novel idea. So when you walked into one of these things, your previous experience, the extent of that was being in a club. That was it. You know, like to that degree where you were in this massive ballroom and everybody was dancing from all over the world, and you were seeing performances and getting a picture of how other cultures saw this dance, how they interpreted it. And, you know, LA was different, and Venezuela was different, and Colombia was different, and New York was different from Puerto Rico. And to see those differences, stark differences, stylistically, theoretically, you know, philosophically, different concepts, it was mind-blowing, like mind-blowing. And it was for a couple of years, until then they were everywhere, and it was, you know, after a while it was the same old stuff. Yeah. Quick.
Well, let me ask you this, Frankie. Was the Congress setting the first setting you ever attended where people would circle around you and cameras would be everywhere? Would that ever happen anywhere else to you before you went to the Congress?
Yes, we were. That was a thing with us. Like we would take pride in being able to shut down an event, right? Like shut down a club or shut down a party. In other words, you got together with the right person for the right song, and nobody else could dance. Like everybody else stopped, they had to watch it, right?
Right. Okay.
And that was the thing. Like we, you know, and that was the moment when I would always buy my partner a bottle of water afterwards. I don't drink alcohol, and and that can get expensive if you start buying drinks for people. But yeah, that was the thing. Like we took pride in our ability to shut an event down, right? It was nowhere near the magnitude of what it ended up becoming in terms of these international events, of course, and also the fact that people knew that they were there witnessing this for a weekend, and you weren't going to be at the club the next week for them to see it again. There was much more of an urgency to document it, and the cameras were cameras then. Like it was a separate thing that weighed something that you had to kind of like get prepared. And, you know, it's like not everybody had a camera, and yet all you saw were red lights. You know, this little red light that indicated that something was recording. Those red lights, when we would do shows, and you go out and you get ready to do a show, and the audience is full of red lights, you know, and it's like, and I used to tell people, yeah, we want people to watch us. I don't want people with me in their houses, you know, watching me 100 times, so that the next time I show up to the event, they're sick of seeing me already and they want to see something else. Cut the cameras off, you know, and it was always like, cut the cameras off, cut the cameras off. So back then, we didn't want it, you know, we didn't want that stuff. And thank goodness, you know, that all of this stuff has been preserved somehow, and I can look back at videos of Puerto Rico. But at the time, you know, because you couldn't necessarily go into a theater to watch a Broadway show and record it. Like nobody's going to let you do that. And there's a reason for that, right? There's a reason. They own the rights to those properties, and they want you to feel something about coming to sit down and pay a ticket to see those things live and have it be a special moment, you know? And that gets damaged, or can be damaged, by you having it at your fingertips. To, you know, it's like a song that you love that you run into the ground, and then you spend years where you don't listen to it because you listen to it on every road trip for 2 years, and now you can't, you know, you need a break.
Right.
So yeah, but yeah, you know, thank goodness but we did that. We would try to shut down wherever we were. We try to shut the place down. You know, it was like that was our that was the New York kind of street dancers, like get in there, be the baddest man on the dance floor, baddest couple on the dance floor. You know, everybody had to stop and observe. You know.
I saw an old video where you were dancing with my girl, Yesenia. I don't know if it was
Yes.
Side Street or whatever.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure there are several videos with you and her, but I think you know the one that I'm talking about.
Yes, it was South Street Seaport. Yeah.
There you go.
Yes, that was a contest. That was a contest. We won that contest. We were supposed to win an appearance in a Sony Picture $80 million movie about the history of the Copacabana, and we were going to be featured in the movie as a dance couple. That was part of the prize. You know, it was $2,000 or $3,000, and you end up in the movie. And the movie never got made, and we never heard anything. I think we got one phone call a few months later, but it never got approved. And but we got the money. But yeah, so we were practicing together a lot, and I was actually performing with Eddie and the Eddie Torres Dance Company on the same day in the same stage.
Oh.
And it was the contest, then there was a performance, then there was a second round of the contest, and another performance. It was like this thing that was happening there, and I just happened to be in both parts of the thing. So I had to switch, change Eddie's stuff, do Eddie Torres, Eddie Torres, and then jump back and get ready to compete, you know. But yeah, that was competition. I did a couple of those, you know, but they were street competitions. They were like, you know, crowd response and you know, biggest cheers won. And it was like every once in a while, one of these things would pop up in a nightclub. I don't know if you remember Julio La Salsa? You remember that name?
No, I don't. I'm not as old as you think.
No, man. No. There was a dancer named Julio La Salsa in New York, Dominican cat, and he would win every his thing was to go to all these contests and just clean up, right? And Amanda Estilo, the great Amanda Estilo, she was one of his partners, and he was undefeated. But it was all these little satellite, like Puerto Rican Day Parade dance contests, you know, South Street Seaport's having a dance contest and a band, and he would clean up at these things. And actually, the first contest I ever did, I've only done about 3 of them, but the first contest I ever did, we ended up beating him, you know. And it was like, I remember Eddie saying, you know, if that guy has been in 100 contests, he's won 100 contests. Like, I does not lose these contests. But he was slick. I mean, he was slick, off timing, you know. But he would do some stuff, man. Like he was all over the place. He would like stand on a bottle and have Amanda turn him on the bottle, like on a Bacardi bottle. All these crazy tricks. He's Dominican, but in the Puerto Rican Day Parade, he had a big Puerto Rican flag wrapped around his head, and like he would do anything he needed to do to win. And he was good at it. You know, he was really good at it. He came with us to Puerto Rico that first time we were there and never got back home because he tried to cut the line in the airport, and they asked him for his papers and stuff, and he wasn't in the States legally, and they sent him back to Dominican Republic, and we haven't seen him since.
No, never.
Yeah. I know he's there and still doing his thing, but he never came home with us from Puerto Rico after that trip, which was like, oh man. But yeah, but that was like one of 3 little competitions that we did. Me and Jasenia used to practice because we were available to practice with each other. You know, we used to dig dancing with each other, and Ismael Otero, her brother, used to bring all his people to Eddie's practice parties, which we started doing as well. These little informal practice parties, jam sessions, just come up, jam in your sweats, and I just play music during the day and once a month. And he used to come with his people, and we used to get to dance with these amazing girls he used to bring. Candy Manna was one of those girls also. And just fabulous women that he would bring with him. And we kind of figured out our chops with these girls, you know, and figuring out who we like to dance with, how we like to dance. So yeah, but very different competition, trying to win competition version of Frankie Martinez than dancing in Ray Torres choreography Frankie Martinez, which is very different from Frankie Martinez, who was alone and doing his own thing later on.
Yeah. Right. One thing I tell people, I say, you know, you might see a lot of people that might dance better than Frankie Martinez, but you're never gonna see anybody dance like
Right.
innovative. That's what
Yeah.
I'm talking. I spoke with Izzy Rodriguez today. He told me to make sure that I told you that he said hello.
Oh, thank you. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I
That's
brought up
fine.
Henry, but you brought up Henry earlier.
Yes, he's one of my dance heroes, Izzy Rodriguez. He's yeah, he's one of that older generation that I looked up to when I was coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love him. He's a great guy for sure.
Yeah.
Now you had mentioned that you used to play the cha-cha-cha. Let us know about you're opening up your social. You used to do it on Friday nights, but now it's going to be open this Saturday. Tell us about it. Give us the details, Frank.
Yeah, we since 2006 we've been doing this party. We always had the Abakuá name attached to it, which was my dance company. And you know, since the pandemic, we were one of the first people to shut down here. We shut down the party, and it's almost 2 years to the day that we shut down the party. Right? It's this month in 2020 that we decided bad idea to have people getting together right now. Things look like they're getting bad. So after 2 years and after being one of the longest running, you know, I hate to use the word social, but that's all people understand anymore. But longest running social in New York City at this point, you know, we're finally with a new space. The owners of You Should Be Dancing acquired a new space, which is just starting to get going now. And my classes are all happening there now at this new space. Beautiful, beautiful dance floor, beautiful lighting, beautiful sound system. Everything is brand new. And we're hoping that it's going to be a hot spot in New York City. So we're finally coming back, bringing our party back this Saturday, March 19th. We're also going to be celebrating Miss Robertson's birthday, Leah Robertson's birthday, which is the 18th. So that's going to be a special
March, April, April.
March. It's this Saturday, right? This Saturday night. Yeah. So this Saturday night, it's from 8 to midnight. It's an early slot on Saturday, so people can still go to their late parties. Okay. It's at the New You Should Be Dancing, which is in Chelsea, West 26th Street. And that's it. It's this weekend, right? All my information is on my Instagram, frankie.martinez. And yeah, check that out because it was one of the parties that we would definitely get people coming from Jersey and from DC, and they would come up for the weekend for our parties. It used to be on Friday night. Yeah. But everybody and their mothers is, you know, trying to have a party now, and so especially with the fact that we haven't been operational because we've been trying to do things responsibly, and we just didn't feel like it was the right time. It just wasn't the right time. Wasn't the right time, and we finally feel like we're turning the corner enough to feel comfortable, you know, asking people to come back out. So yeah, it's a mainstay and it has historical significance in New York. And I'm playing music. I'm the one playing music, and my musical taste is not like anything that you're going to get at any other party. And you ask Ismael Otero about that because he's always talking about that, and he's a regular at the party, and he's always talking about nobody plays this stuff. Nobody plays this stuff. But yeah, because I'm just not. The party's not our business, and I'm not a DJ, so I don't have to worry about making people, you know, feel comfortable about the fact that they should be listening to something they expect to be listening to. I'd rather teach them that there's all this amazing music out there, and that it's not the music's fault that you may not understand how to dance cha-cha-cha or boogaloo or a little bit of even bolero, but it's part of what we do. And if I'm the only one keeping it alive, then I have a big responsibility, and I'm going to keep playing that stuff. We get musicians who come and play alongside while I'm playing the recorded music. And musicians love to be at the party, man, because they don't get to hear music like that anywhere else. So yeah, it's this Saturday. It's gonna be fun. It's every third Saturday of the month is gonna be the full Abakuá social. Abakuá
And
Mambo night.
you got some intensive choreography classes coming up as well? No?
There is an intensive cha-cha-cha workshop that's happening on March 25th. That's a Friday night. We're calling it Bringing Cha-Cha-Cha Back, right? And this is, again, one of these things where the community, it's so lacking in the community. I try to target things like that, and do intensive workshops to get people not to be afraid of this stuff. It's just as enjoyable and just as funky as all the other things you're doing, and it's not that different. It just requires somebody to introduce it to you so that you can be comfortable with that. But yeah, cha-cha-cha intensive. We're going to be doing cha-cha-cha open work and cha-cha-cha partner work. It's a 2-hour thing from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Friday night, March 25th, and that's going to be right there at the same You Should Be Dancing studio on 26th Street.
Well, I see you. When you go out, you don't act like you're a snob or anything like that. I'll see you do some social dancing every now and then.
Yes.
The question I want to ask you: what do you do, Frankie, when you're asking someone to dance cha-cha-cha? And they are doing the on-one timing? Do you say anything to them, or what do you do? Do you just keep dancing cha-cha-cha on two as you normally do, like you've done all your life, and hope they catch on, or you just smile and just say, "Oh, the record will be over"?
I will usually, whatever's happening, I don't assume somebody is a trained dancer and is going to respond the way I expect them to respond. So whatever I get, I'm gonna deal with, right? But I do have one of my pet peeves is people dancing cha-cha-cha on one. That's like one of the things that really is like, if you wanna call me names, if you wanna talk about my heritage, if you wanna talk about my family, that's one thing. But dancing cha-cha-cha on one is like, oh my God, come on, it's and to tell you the truth, that's a tough one to swallow. Like I will usually, and a cha-cha-cha, if I hear it and I'm not the one playing it, it's a rare event. You may not get another one the rest of the night, and if it's a good one, that's even rarer, right? Because people just play a cha-cha-cha because it's a cha-cha-cha,
Right.
And it's not necessarily, there's so many good ones out there, or even good boogaloos or good guajiras. Sometimes we're dancing cha-cha-cha and it's actually a guajira, but yeah, you don't have a lot of opportunities and you want to hope you get it right, and so usually I'm lucky enough that I'll have somebody run up to me because they know that I'm that's my thing and that I'm comfortable there. And so, or I will try to target somebody I know for that rare occasion. If it's in an environment that it's known to be a rare occasion, I'll target somebody that I know is not going to allow me to miss the opportunity in that moment, But I'll usually, when it comes to social dancing is social dancing. I'm not there to teach anybody anything. I'm not there to criticize anybody for anything. If I ask you to dance, I have to be prepared for what that means, And I say that with relationships. I say that with everything. You're an adult. You can do whatever you want. You just have to know what you are asking for. You have to know what the consequences are of your decisions, and I accept the fact that, you know, this person may not dance the way I dance, and so we may just have to go into that multi-dimensional groove, you know, and that's part of being adaptable and being receptive and you know, not being confident and not having to force somebody to acquiesce to the little bit that you know. You know, you're fluid enough that you can adapt to whatever is presented to you, you know.
Beautiful. So you traveled all over the world. Do you have a favorite Congress? Before they became multiple Congresses with Pachata, Zuka, Suma, do you have a favorite Congress that existed? All the salsa, real salsa Congresses that you've attended?
Yeah, I think, I mean, that's a difficult one. I know I had favorite places that I attended, and I had events that were, you know, that I've had all throughout. You would have events that stood out. But I guess the one that I used to look forward to the most was in Israel, in
Okay.
Eilat, in the south of Israel. And it was like this little paradise. It was this little contained event. It was far from anything. It was like this little resort. And then after the event, with all these super warm people, like the people there, you know, they felt like Caribbean people. They were just really warm and really affectionate and really beautiful people, literally beautiful people. But then after the event, we would take 3 days and we would tour. They would take us on a Holy Land tour, and they would take us all through all the like historical sites in Israel on a bus. And it was just the artists, you know, like on this bus together, and we got to like see all these amazing historical things, and it's like unlike anything else that I had experienced. You know, there's so much history there, and you know, it's so old. You can tell right away that you're you have access to something ancient, you know. And it was just one of those moments where, you know, you kind of step aside and you have to give gratitude for the opportunities that you had, that this dance was able to bring you, because you know, I don't know that my mother has left the continental United States other than to go to Puerto Rico. And I've been able to see these things, you know, and it's like every once in a while you just have to stop and say, man, you know, I really am lucky, and I really have to, you know, realize how grateful I should be that I get to experience these things. But yeah, I think Israel, because of the combination of those things, you know, there were things about the event I didn't like they party from 10 a.m. to 6 a.m., you know, and the party starts at the pool outside the rooms where you're trying to rest, and they're already playing music like first light, you know, and it's like, oh my God. But man, those people party, and they were just really warm and always really received me. There was an event in Sicily also that used to happen on a recurring basis in Milazzo. Holy, I mean, that was another beautiful, like, wow, how did I get here? You know, like performances on a volcanic island outdoors in an amphitheater. Like, oh man, yeah, I've had some. You know, it's mostly because of the experiences. You know, the people you get to meet, the interactions, the relationships you make. You know, good music. I have that. You know, and you know, being able to dance, literally, physically dance with people, that's fine. You know, that's cool. Get good dances, but you know, to really like genuinely get to interact with people and share with people and kind of you know, get to explore all these things that otherwise, without this dance and without the gifts that I was given and the work that I've been able to do to cultivate those things, I may not have had the opportunity to experience these things, and it's humbling, you know.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, your groups always put on kick-ass performances, but did you guys kick ass at the first New York Salsa Congress that you ever performed?
The first New York Salsa Congress that I did was with Eddie. And I know that I danced my butt off, but there were things that's maybe a discussion for another day. But
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that's a whole nother, that's a can of worms, right? But that was that was uh, that was the first time that Bacardi brought the Congress to New York. New York wasn't really on the agenda, partially because you're kind of asking New Yorkers to pay for them to bring something from outside that they already had access to there, you know?
Right.
You know, we were going out to different places so that people can experience what was happening in New York, but then to bring people from outside to New York, and it's like trying to sell tickets to the Statue of Liberty to New Yorkers. Like, you know, it's there. I'll go see it when I go see it. But they did have these huge events in New York, and it started at the Hammerstein Ballroom. Bacardi did their first event. That's when I first like really got to speak to Johnny Vasquez, and like I remember that event. Johnny Vasquez, I was there when Johnny Vasquez met Fernando Sosa from Milan.
Wow.
He was there with a partner, and I remember him getting off stage after his tech rehearsal, and him and Johnny meeting, and wow, that was great, and you've been a big inspiration. And I watched that happen for that first meeting.
Wow.
Talk about history, right? But yeah, I was with Eddie that time, and then Bacardi only did. I want to say Bacardi only did that one event, and then people in New York took it over. Dave Melendez, I think he's the one that did the first one after Bacardi did it. I want to say it was like 2003, and me and Lori and I performed as a duet there. I didn't bring the entire company, and we did. I don't know if you've seen Vietnam Mambo, but it's kind of an Asian themed. I forget whose piece of music that was, but that was another famous one. That Vietnam Mambo, we did quite a bit of touring with that. But we did that, and I watch that video every once in a while because the crowd response is inspired. It gets me hyped up, you know. To hear it's a lot of fun. Me and Lori, I think all the New York Salsa Congresses during that period, me and Lori did alone. We did Babalu at one, and we did Vietnam Mambo. Those videos are floating around on YouTube. I watch them every once in a while. But the company, we were, by the time we got the company involved, it was kind of this new iteration of the New York event that's happening now with Edwin.
For all the rooms and all the genres.
Right. And the salsa, there's a salsa dura room and a salsa something else room, and it's not just a salsa room. They've compartmentalized even that, you know, into different styles of stuff that people want to listen to. So yeah, and we actually at that point had done, because we were doing theater, like we were doing large format type productions. You know, we were doing half-hour pieces in theaters, doing 2-hour shows with people buying tickets and sitting down in theaters. So, you know, when we did something at that event, we brought a little bit of that flavor. We did a medley of about 12, 13 minutes of stuff that was, you know, that kind of represented the type of work that I was doing at the time. So yeah. The earliest stuff we did with the company was like Chicago, and it was an event in Connecticut that was the first event we ever did. And we had a Matrix number that was composed to Descarga Lebron by the Lebron Brothers. That song, oh man, I was watching that video recently, but it was a whole Matrix thing, and I had one of my students help me like edit things from the movie into the song, so that, you know, it was, man, something else.
Out of control.
But yeah, we were doing very thematic stuff, you know, like I was always concerned that there was a feeling that we were coming across with, and not just kind of showing people, look what I can do, this is salsa, you know. I wanted to move away from the cabaret concept and and get more artistic about how people used Latin dance as a language to talk about life and concepts and things. And so we had a number where we were statues that came to life when people, before this movie came out with the museum and Ben Stiller, I had a number of statues. We were statues and the museum closed, and I have the actual audio of the museum closing. We worked it into the museum is now closed. The museum is now closed, and we're standing there as pieces of art. And when the museum closes, we start to kind of like, figure out how to move.
Yeah.
And we were doing stuff. We had a '70s number with afros and the whole thing, and it was all partner work. We never let each other go the whole time. Even when we did open work, we were still connected. It was like there were like themes and concepts and different ways that I was trying to use the company idea to get different things across on stage and use the stage in different ways and the personnel in different ways, and not just partner work, open work. We really wanted to kind of like, what can we do with this? How can we present different things?
Have you ever thought about having a group doing this choreography for old people like me? Maybe I wanted to join a group, but won't nobody let me.
It's called the Abakuá Performance Project. I'm getting close to being in that group too. I'm gonna have to, because of necessity. I'm gonna have to do that. We'll tour nursing homes or whatever we can, But
do you ever hear from Tiffany Preston or Zion Child?
I Zion every once in a while, Ron every once in a while, Tiffany and Preston, I hear of them every once in a while, but I haven't really communicated to them in a long time. But yeah, it's funny. Like I even with some of the dancers that we're always family. Like we are always, there's something that we did together that we could have only done together. That we had certain ambitions and certain dreams that we helped each other fulfill, and so for that period of our lives, it was a huge thing, and so it connected us in a way that was very profound. And so we it's almost like being in combat with somebody. Like there's a certain connection you just share with them now for the rest of your life, because we went through those things together and we achieved those aspirations in our lives, not just together, but we needed each other to get it done, and we were able to do it. And so special relationships all across the board. And Tiffany Preston, Ron, longtime student, he's just trying to get his body back together so I'm just trying to get my body back together so I can come back and train. And but yeah, they're always there, they're always looming, and then one day we'll reunite and right back to the same old thing where we family.
So the social on Saturday, is that was once a month or every last Saturday, or what's the situation?
Once a month. But what we're doing is we're doing like one of those old Eddie practice party. We call it a practica, right? Like in tango, they have these parties for the students to kind of work things out and not feel like you have to be perfect or you have to be a great dancer. I follow at that party and try to get my following chops back. But it's a nice little informal daytime event that we do on the first Sunday of the month. It's a cheaper event, it's a smaller event, but it's really this little informal thing, and that offsets the big party that we have on the third Saturday. So we have those alternating weekends where we get to do two parties a month, but one is the little practica, and the main event is on the once a month on the third Saturday.
Well, I'm notoriously cheap, so
right.
I'm gonna need a discount or be put on your guest list when I call you.
Yeah, Yeah, for sure, for sure.
I'm like crying. I don't think. I don't.
Oh man, you you're from that generation. I know, man. No,
I mean, the last time I paid somewhere was when I came to one of your socials years and years ago.
no, man. No, you're on a permanent guest list. Don't worry.
Oh, but there you
You'll
go.
be able
See,
to get in anywhere at this point.
there you go, Frankie. I'm gonna cut this off because we've been on. I've been having fun, and it's
Yes.
almost an
Man,
hour and a
thank
half.
you.
So,
It goes fast.
I know you got things that you have to do. I just wanted to tell you that I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to come on to my little show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I
It's
also
absolutely.
also appreciated the way you treated me when we actually met and had a conversation and I found out that you're not like I thought you would be at all.
Right.
Or either you're a heck of an actor. Because you seem really, really down to earth. You've
Man,
always been kind to me, and I'm not a superstar or anything, but you've
no.
always been kind to me, and I appreciate it. And
Thank
I
you
had
so much.
a
It means a lot.
ball when we saw you in Virginia Beach was a couple months ago.
Yeah, yeah.
The girl was telling me,
That
"You
was
know
fun.
him? You know him?" I said, "Well, I've seen Franklin out several
Right,
times. I've had him at a couple of my events. We're not the
right.
best of buds, but we go on first name basis,
We go way back. Yeah, yeah. Sure, for sure.
Frankie, thank you so much. We're gonna wrap it up, man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
I'll see you in a couple of Saturdays, maybe in April.
Yeah, man. Come by. Always welcome. And let your people know too. Bring them up with you.
You know I will. Thank you
Entourage.
so
Thank
much.
you, bro.
Talk to you
Have a
later.
great night.
All
Thank you,
right.
ladies and gentlemen. Take care.